The water was freezing, and the wind was howling. In my arms, I held a tiny, shivering creature. I knew that if I didn't get him to the center in 10 minutes, it would be too late for everyone. Can one person change the fate of a whole colony? Can a small action save a life? Hello, adventurers. Welcome back to Enjoy English Stories. I'm so glad you are here today. We are leaving the city behind and traveling to the wild, rugged, and breathtaking coast of Cape Town, South Africa. We are using the shadowing technique. This is the fastest and most effective way to improve your English pronunciation and rhythm. You must speak with me. Do not just listen. Match my speed, my intonation, and my emotion. Today's story is about Near. She is a dedicated volunteer at a bird rescue center who must face a dangerous Atlantic storm to save her feathered friends. In this story, you will learn powerful words about animals, the environment, and the true meaning of bravery. Are you ready to face the ocean? Let's begin. My name is Near. I am 23 years old, and my heart belongs to the ocean. I live in Cape Town, a city where the towering mountains literally meet the sea. If you stand on the beach, you can see the famous Table Mountain behind you and the vast, blue Atlantic Ocean in front of you. My world is a constant symphony of crashing waves, the salty spray of the water on my face, and the sharp, clean smell of the sea breeze. I am a volunteer at a local marine center that rescues African penguins. If you haven't seen them, they are amazing creatures. They are small, they walk with a funny waddle, and they are incredibly brave. In South Africa, we often call them jackass penguins because they make a sound just like a donkey. However, these birds are in serious trouble. Because of overfishing, plastic pollution, and the changing climate, their numbers are dropping every year. They live on rocky beaches like Boulders Beach, but they are very vulnerable. I spend my days at the center doing hard, messy, but rewarding work. I clean the large saltwater pools, I prepare buckets of fresh sardines, and I make sure every bird is healthy and strong. It is not a glamorous job. My clothes always smell like fish, and my hands are often cold, but when I see a penguin return to the wild, it is the best feeling in the world. My favorite penguin is a little guy named Pip. He is a blue, which means he is a juvenile penguin with beautiful blue-gray feathers. I found him on the beach 2 months ago with a badly broken wing and a very weak heart. I spent weeks feeding him by hand and talking to him while he recovered. Pip is incredibly curious and, quite honestly, a bit of a troublemaker. He doesn't stay with the other penguins instead. He follows me everywhere I go. Waddle, waddle, waddle. He watches me clean the floors and tries to help by pecking at my rubber boots. One Tuesday afternoon, the atmosphere changed. The air felt heavy and thick. I looked at the horizon and saw a wall of dark, bruised clouds moving quickly toward the coast. The weather forecast had warned us, but nothing could prepare us for this. A massive black southeaster storm was hitting the Cape. Within an hour, the sky turned almost black, and the wind became so violent that it felt like it could move heavy cars. The ocean was no longer blue, it was an angry, churning grey. Giant white waves, as tall as houses, crashed against the jagged rocks with a sound like thunder. The local news said it was the worst storm in 10 years. Most people in Cape Town stayed inside their warm houses, drinking tea and listening to the rain. But at the rescue center, we were terrified. The main penguin colony at the nearby bay was not protected from a storm surge this large. The baby penguins, the chicks, were still covered in soft down feathers. These feathers are not waterproof. If a chick gets wet and the wind is cold, it can die from hypothermia in minutes. Furthermore, they were too small to swim in such rough, terrifying water. I called the manager of the center, a brave woman named Sarah. "Sarah, the tide is coming in much higher than usual," I shouted over the wind. "We have to go to the beach right now. The nests in the low-lying sand will be flooded." We didn't hesitate. We loaded the rescue truck with blankets, heaters, and plastic transport boxes. The drive to the bay was a nightmare. The rain was so thick I could barely see the road, and the wind was screaming through the trees. Woo, woo. When we arrived at the beach, the situation was even worse than I imagined. The ocean had swallowed the beach. The water was already reaching the bushes where the penguins build their nests. The adult penguins were standing in a circle, trying to use their bodies to block the freezing water from their babies, but the waves were too strong. Every few seconds, a surge of icy water would rush up the sand, soaking everything. It was a race against time. I put on my heavy, yellow waterproof coat and sprinted onto the sand. The water was absolutely freezing. It felt like thousands of tiny needles hitting my legs. I saw a group of 5 baby chicks trapped behind a large granite rock. They were shivering violently, their eyes wide with terror. "I've got you," I whispered, though they couldn't hear me over the roar of the Atlantic. I started to pick them up, one by one, and tucked them into the warm, straw-lined boxes. Grab, lift, run. Grab, lift, run. My boots were full of water, and my muscles were screaming with exhaustion, but I couldn't stop. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something impossible. A small, blue-grey shape was waddling across the dangerous, wet sand. It was Pip. He must have jumped into the back of the rescue truck when we weren't looking. He was near the water's edge, braying loudly, trying to help the other penguins. "Pip! No! Get back!" I screamed. At that exact moment, a giant rogue wave, a wall of water nearly 3 meters high, began to curl over the shore. Pip didn't see it. I didn't think, I just reacted. I ran as fast as I could across the slippery rocks. I dove into the freezing surf and grabbed Pip's slippery body just as the wave crashed down on top of us. Everything went dark. I was underwater, being tossed around like a piece of driftwood. The power of the ocean is terrifying. It felt like I was being pulled into a washing machine filled with ice. My lungs were burning, but I held Pip tightly against my chest, shielding him with my arms. I felt my shoulder hit a rock, but I didn't let go. Finally, the wave retreated. I struggled to my feet, gasping for air, and pulled myself back onto the higher sand, away from the reach of the foam. Pip was safe. He was shaking, but he was alive. We worked for 3 more hours in the freezing rain and wind. We didn't stop until every chick we could find was in the truck. By the time we got back to the center, we had rescued over 50 penguins. We spent the rest of the night drying them with soft, warm towels and placing them under heat lamps. We fed them warm fish slurry to give them energy. Sarah and I stayed awake until dawn, watching them. Slowly, the shivering stopped. The chicks began to chirp. They were going to make it. The next morning, the storm had passed. The sun came out, painting the mountains in shades of gold and purple. The ocean was calm and blue again, as if it had forgotten its anger from the night before. I was sitting on the floor of the center, wrapped in a blanket, drinking a cup of hot coffee. My body was sore, and my shoulder was bruised, but I felt a sense of peace I had never known. Pip walked over to me. He wasn't interested in the other penguins. He walked right up to my lap, put his head against my leg, and made a small, happy whistling sound. In that moment, the bond between us was unbreakable. Now, the colony is back on the beach. But things are different now. Because of that storm, our community came together. We raised money to build new, elevated nesting boxes made from recycled plastic. These nests are high above the waterline and can survive even the biggest storms. I am still a volunteer, and I am still covered in the smell of fish every day. I am near, and I learned a very important lesson that night. Bravery isn't about the absence of fear. I was terrified when that wave hit me. Bravery is about doing what is right, even when your legs are shaking, even when the wind is screaming, and even when the water is freezing. Life is a big, unpredictable ocean. Sometimes it is calm, and sometimes it is a storm. But you have to be willing to jump in to save what you love. Because every life, even a tiny, waddling penguin named Pip, is worth the fight. What a brave and exciting story. Nia saved Pip and the entire colony through her courage and her love for nature. Did you feel the power of that storm? Did you imagine the freezing water of the Atlantic? Now, let's practice your shadowing. This story has a lot of action verbs and emotional descriptions, which makes it perfect for improving your English. Go back to the beginning. Repeat every sentence with me out loud. Pay close attention to the words volunteer, colony, exhausted, and shivering. Try to copy the intensity and the excitement in my voice during the rescue scene, and the calm, peaceful tone at the end. If you want to help protect animals and the environment, give this video a like. It helps more people find our stories. Subscribe to enjoy English stories and tell us in the comments. What is your favorite sea animal? Have you ever had a special bond with an animal? I love reading your stories from all over the world. Thank you for practicing with me today. You are becoming a more confident English speaker every single day. See you in the next adventure. Goodbye.